Glory Jesus. We thank God for today has been a special day that we have met on the platform again, CVC Learn Bible, as we began the other time learning about God, who is God, what is God, how can we get to know Him. Yes, and so we started learning something about the nature of God, and we've learned something about the character of God. And so as we journey through today, we are here talking and learning about the works of God. And so we cannot understand God apart from His works, because what God does flows from who He is. What God does flows from who He is. So here's a short list of God's works, past, present, and future. God created the world, as the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And so this is a work that God does, that the book of Genesis made it clear. And the book of Isaiah chapter 42, reading from verse 5. Isaiah chapter 42, reading from verse 5. He said, "Thus says God the Lord, He that created the heavens and stretched them out, He that spread forth the earth, and that which cometh out of it, He that giveth bread unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein." And so these are some of the works of God. And so He actively sustains the world too. Yes, God actively sustains the world. The book of Colossians chapter number 1, reading from verse 17. Colossians chapter number 1, reading from verse 17. Colossians chapter 1 verse 17 said, "And He is before all things, and by Him all things consist." By God all things consist. And so who is God? Is by God, in whom all things exist or consist. And so He is carrying out His eternal plan. God carries out His eternal plan, as the book of Ephesians chapter 1 verse number 11 says. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 11, He said, "In whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of Him who worketh all things after the counsels of His own will, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance." And so with God we obtain inheritance. And so who is God? It is whom that we obtain inheritance. And so which involves the redemption of man from the curse of sin and death. He also involves the redemption of man from the curse of sin and death. Galatians chapter number 3 verse 13 and verse 14. Galatians chapter 3 verse number 13 and to 14 said, "Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, Cursed is everyone on that hanged on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Jesus Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith." And so He draws people to Christ, what God also does. And through Him we have redemption, and through God, God draws people to Christ, as the book of John chapter 6 verse number 44 says. John chapter 6, reading from verse 44, He said, "No man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day." I will raise him up at the last day. And so with who God is, these are some of the works God does. And so He draws people to Christ. So He disciples, He disciplines His children too. God also disciplines His children. The book of Hebrews chapter 12, reading from verse 6. Hebrews chapter number 12, reading from verse 6, it says, "For whom the Lord loveth, He chased and scourged every son whom He received. Yes. And so, for God discipline his children and he would judge the word. And so God is the one in charge and has the authority to judge this word. As the book of Revelations chapter number 20 verse 11. Revelation chapter number 20, reading from verse 11, it says, "And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works." He said, "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death." The death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. And so, with the judgment of God, this kind of death we are experiencing on earth here will be cast into hell. And so there will be a different kind of death, which is called the second death. Verse 15 says, "And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." And so God has the power, the authority, and the mandate to do this, to judge the world. And so when we're talking about God, who is God, what is God, how we can get to know him, we get to know God about the works he does, we get to know God about whom he is, and we get to know God about what he is about to do. So we thank God for today. We will end here for our Bible studies about the character, the nature, and the ways of God, who God is, what God is, and how we can get to know God. CVC Learn Bible, we shall meet, God willing, next time. God bless you. Share to bless a soul. God bless you. Bye bye.